I let my brother move into my basement after his divorce. I cooked, paid the bills, and gave him space. One morning, I came downstairs to find my bedroom door busted open and my safe emptied. When I confronted him, he just stared and said, "You owed me. Dad always liked you more." He packed his truck and drove off. A week later, my bank account was overdrawn. Then I got a message from his ex-wife that made me realize the truth. When Mark showed up at my place, he looked like hell. Unshaven, underweight, pale like he'd been living in a motel for too long. He didn't hug me. Just nodded and carried his bags in. I told him I'd cleared out the basement, and handed him a spare key. I even stocked the fridge with beer and frozen pizzas. I was trying to make him feel at home. First few weeks, he was quiet. He kept to himself. I figured he was trying to deal with the divorce. I didn't ask questions. But over time, he got comfortable. Too comfortable. He started using my car without asking. I'd find wrappers and cigarette butts inside. One time, he borrowed my truck and came back with a cracked taillight. Said nothing. I let it go. Then there were weird comments. Like one night, we were eating dinner, steak and potatoes I made, and he looked at me and said, "You always had it easy, didn't you?" "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. "Dad always gave you more. I got scraps. You were the golden boy." I laughed at first, thought he was joking. But he wasn't. This chip on his shoulder, it was real. He thought I owed him something because our dad had been harder on him. I'm not saying Dad was perfect, but he didn't hand me anything. I worked my ass off for what I had. Then came that morning. That sick feeling in my gut when I saw my bedroom door hanging open. The busted frame. The empty space where the safe had been. It felt like a home invasion, except it wasn't a stranger. It was Mark. He had to use a crowbar or something to pry it out. He even ripped the alarm wire from the wall so there'd be no alert. When I finally got a hold of him, days later from a blocked number, he didn't apologize. He didn't even lie. He said, "You owed me. Dad always liked you more." Then he hung up. That one sentence burned in my chest for days. What kind of person robs his own brother and justifies it with childhood resentment? And then drains your bank account on top of it? It was personal now. And when Brianna messaged me, everything made sense. He wasn't just a screw-up. He was dangerous. He'd been planning this. This wasn't impulsive. This was a setup. The storage unit, the extra phones, the stolen mail, all signs that he was trying to become me. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to the police again. I was going to destroy him myself. I spent the next 3 nights sitting in front of my laptop, barely sleeping. I made a list. Not just of what Mark had taken, but of what he'd touched. My accounts. My mail. My ID. My house. He'd crossed the line. I called an old friend from high school, Kyle, who now worked private security down in Medford. He used to do skip tracing for bail bondsmen. Basically, he hunted people down for a living. I told him everything. "Kyle, I need to find my brother. He stole from me, and he's running under my name. I don't want cops. I just want information." Kyle was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Send me anything you've got. I'll look." I sent him the fake lease in my name from Tacoma, some photos of Mark, the ATM transactions I traced, even a blurry shot Brianna had from his Facebook before he deleted it. 3 days later, Kyle texted me. "Found the truck. It's in a trailer park near Yakima." He gave me the address. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell Brianna. I just packed a bag, got in my truck, and drove north. It was a 5-hour trip. I ran through everything I wanted to say to him in my head 1,000 times. What I'd do if I saw him. What I'd make him feel. I wasn't sure if I wanted to punch him, scream at him, or drag him back and lock him in my own basement. When I pulled into the trailer park, the sun was going down. It was one of those low-rent places, dusty gravel roads, torn up lawn chairs in the yards, satellite dishes held up with duct tape. But there was his truck. Same dent in the fender. Same faded Oregon plates. Parked right outside a beat-up single-wide with a busted front step and a tarp nailed to the roof. I parked around the corner, walked up on foot. I wasn't armed, but my heart was pounding like I was about to go into combat. I knocked on the door. Nothing. I knocked again. Then I heard footsteps inside. The door opened a crack. And it wasn't Mark. It was a woman. Mid-30s maybe. Skinny. Track marks on her arms. She looked at me through the crack like I was a debt collector. I said, "I'm looking for Mark Deely. He's staying here?" She paused. Looked back into the trailer. Then opened the door wider. You a cop? No. I'm his brother. She shrugged. He's not here. Where is he? She leaned on the frame and smirked. Probably with that girl again. Amber. He's been hanging with her a lot lately. Thinks he's some kind of boss. That name hit me. Amber. Not familiar. She gave me an address. Some apartment complex a few miles away. Before I left, I asked, Has he talked about me? She laughed. Only that you were born lucky and he was born cursed. I drove to the apartment complex she mentioned. I didn't even know what I was going to do. I just knew I needed to look him in the eye again. Make him feel what I'd felt when I found that door kicked in. I spotted him near a white Honda Civic. His hair was longer, a little greasy, and he was wearing a hoodie I recognized, my hoodie. One I thought I lost. I got out of the truck and walked up. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. He just looked up and smirked. Well, look who it is. Mr. Perfect. You stole from me, I said. My voice was steady. Cold. Mark shrugged. I took what I deserved. You ruined my credit. You emptied my account. You broke into my room. He chuckled. Dad left you everything. You think I didn't notice? The watch, the bonds, the house. You think that was fair? You didn't earn a damn thing. That's when something changed in his face. That smug look vanished. He stepped closer. You're not gonna do anything. You've always been soft. That's why Dad liked you. You're the obedient one. Then he leaned in and whispered, Go home, little brother. Before you get hurt. I stepped back. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to plan. He didn't know I'd already taken photos of his truck, the trailer, this building, even the woman who answered the door. I'd sent them all to Kyle. And Kyle had contacts. I was going to ruin him from the inside out. Not just physically. Not just emotionally. Legally. I'd been soft before. Not anymore. I didn't drive home. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town and stayed up half the night with my laptop open, texting Kyle and pulling every piece of documentation I could find. I had enough proof to bury Mark. Screenshots of the bank transfers, photos of my damaged bedroom door, the forged lease, his location, even statements from Brianna. I even called my credit card company again to flag more charges he'd made in my name. He'd used my identity to pay for a gym membership and a payday loan. Kyle called me just after 7 a.m. I got a guy, he said. Retired cop. Now does freelance investigations. You pay his gas, and he'll file an anonymous fraud report in Washington under your name. That way it triggers an ID theft case up there. Your brother won't know where it's coming from. Do it, I said. I'll cover it. Mark thought I'd just fade away. Thought I'd go home and lick my wounds like always. But now he was about to get a visit from the people he feared most, feds. While the investigators started building a fraud case in Washington, I went to work on something more local. I remembered what Brianna told me about the storage unit. So I texted her. You still remember where it is? She responded 10 minutes later with an address in Eugene. It was a 2-hour detour on my way back to Salem, but I made it. The place was one of those 24/7 self-storage facilities with keypad gates and rows of metal doors. I walked into the office and asked the manager if I could see Unit 114. He asked for ID. I showed him my license. He paused, typed something, then nodded. This unit's under your name. Of course it was. He walked me back and unlocked it. What I saw inside made my blood run cold. There were boxes. Dozens of them. Labeled with names I didn't recognize. Old phones. Flash drives. Manila envelopes stuffed with documents. He had entire folders on people, credit reports, birth certificates, scanned IDs. Mark wasn't just scamming me. He was scamming everyone. Neighbors, coworkers, probably even Brianna's family. And in the back corner, in a clear tote labeled Dad's stuff, I found the watch. The one he stole from my safe. Along with the USB I thought was gone. My emergency cash? Gone, of course. But this was bigger than stolen money. This was a web. I took photos of everything. Every box. Every document. Then I called Kyle. This isn't just ID theft, I told him. He's running some kind of fraud ring. There's other people's info in here. Kyle didn't hesitate. I'm sending it to a friend in the postal inspector's office. This just became federal. I knew what that meant. Mark had used stolen identities to open credit cards, maybe even reroute mail. That's postal fraud, financial fraud, wire fraud, all stuff the feds love to prosecute. I left the unit exactly as I found it. Didn't take anything. I wanted it all to be documented. Official. Back in Salem, I checked my credit again. Another new account popped up. This time in Idaho. He was still out there, using my name. Still thinking he was untouchable. What he didn't know was that I had already filed a full affidavit with the FTC. Locked every account. Froze every credit report. I even got a new license with a different ID number. He wasn't me anymore. That's when the real twist hit. Brianna called me, frantic. I just talked to his mom, she said. She got a call from Child Protective Services. Why? Because he tried to file for full custody of our son. Using your name. I nearly dropped the phone. He used my identity. To file for custody? Yep. Fake job, fake address, fake everything. All under you. I couldn't speak for a moment. That crossed every line. This wasn't just about revenge or resentment anymore. He was playing games with a kid's life. And that's when I knew I wasn't going to stop until Mark was behind bars. I'll never forget the look on Mark's face the last time I saw him. But I'll get to that. After the call from Brianna, everything shifted. He had tried to use my name to get custody of a kid that wasn't even his anymore. That wasn't just fraud, that was dangerous. She could have lost her son. And I knew exactly what he was trying to do. He wanted to ruin my name so badly that it erased me. And he wanted to hurt everyone who ever cared about him on the way down. I kept working with Kyle. His contact in the postal inspector's office opened an official investigation within 2 weeks. They got a federal warrant for the storage unit, then froze every bank account connected to the fake identities Mark had opened. I gave them everything I had, emails, photos, messages, even the names of the people he was staying with. Meanwhile, I played quiet. I didn't text him. I didn't threaten him. I waited. Then, one morning, about 5 weeks after I found him in Yakima, I got a call from a 509 number. It was a woman. Nervous voice. Said her name was Amber. I think you're his brother, she said. I found some things. In his backpack. It didn't feel right. She had copies of my driver's license. A flash drive. A notepad with login passwords. She also found a burner phone with photos of my bedroom, my basement, even Brianna's kid. She said he kept talking in his sleep. Muttering about how I owed him everything. And how soon he'd get his last payout and disappear. That was it. I told Amber to get out. I told her that he was about to go down, and she didn't want to be anywhere near him when it happened. She cried on the phone. Said he'd scared her more than once. I gave her Kyle's number and told her to call him right away. That same afternoon, the feds made their move. I didn't see it happen, but Kyle called me that night. He's in custody. Got picked up at a gas station off I-82. Tried to give a fake name. Didn't work. I can't lie, I felt a deep, cold satisfaction. But it wasn't over. The next few weeks were chaos. The investigation turned up over 16 fake identities. He'd stolen over $48,000 total, across 3 states. At least 5 victims testified. He was charged with wire fraud, identity theft, and impersonation of a federal employee. Apparently he pretended to be a census worker once to get into someone's home and collect documents. When I was called to testify, I looked him straight in the eyes from the stand. He didn't look smug anymore. Didn't even look angry. He looked empty. Just a man who finally ran out of people to blame. The judge sentenced him to 14 years. No parole for the first 10. I didn't cheer. I didn't cry. I walked out of that courtroom and sat in my truck for a long time. Thought about our childhood. The birthdays, the fishing trips. How he used to cry when I beat him at board games, and how I always let him win the next one. And how none of that mattered now. But here's the final twist. After all the damage he caused, the investigators told me something wild. He had tried to name me as his emergency contact during intake. Said I was the only family he had left. I left the box blank. Because sometimes family isn't who shares your blood. It's who doesn't bury a knife in your back. As for me, it took months, but I rebuilt everything. Credit fixed. Locks changed. Cameras installed. I even moved, new home, new zip code, new peace. Brianna and I still talk. Her kid's doing okay. She told me one night over coffee. I used to think he ruined me. But maybe he just made me stronger. Maybe he did that for both of us. Because the truth is, sometimes revenge doesn't come with a baseball bat or a screaming match. Sometimes it comes with a court sentence, a steel door clanging shut, and silence. And that silence? That's where I found peace.